Good evening. I'd like to call the EDA meeting to order at, what is it, 6:03? 6:02. Kim, roll call, please.
Commissioner Bayshore.
Here.
Commissioner Engelking.
Here.
Commissioner Budd. Here. Commissioner Mohammed. Here. Commissioner Browson.
Present.
Commissioner Bodwin.
Here.
And President Ferris.
Here. I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda. Would somebody like to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Looks great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. Minutes. Meeting minutes of May 4th. A motion to approve the meeting minutes.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any amendments? Any discussion?
They look good.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have three consent items. Approve EDA disbursements, resolutions approving 2% loan program modification in agreement with NextStage, and resolution approving ATD Holdings notice of default, Ward 3. Motion to approve the EDA consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This consent is approved. We have no public hearing, no regular business, no communications. This meeting is adjourned.
Well
At
done, Madam President.
6:04. That was a long meeting.
That was productive for 2 minutes.
All right, folks, we'll get started here. It is now 6:15. We'll get started on our city council meeting. As I realize the error of my ways because I'm going to call this meeting to order. And Kim, roll call, please.
Councilmember Bodwin.
Here.
Councilmember Ferris.
Here.
Councilmember Browson.
Happily here.
Councilmember Budd. Here. Councilmember Engelking.
Here.
Councilmember Bayshore.
Here.
Mayor Mohammed.
Thank you. I'm here. Sorry, I just drank some water and I wanted to thank her and anyways, I'm here and thank you. Moving on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me if you can and are able to and choose to.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Moving to the approval of the agenda, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Ooh,
Second.
excited.
Oh, no, you.
Okay.
No, you moved. I'm second.
Okay. Moved by Councilmember Brosnan and then Councilmember Ferris is seconded. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, I'm going to move on to votes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. Moving on to the presentations, we have three proclamations that are pretty important, honestly. All of our proclamations are pretty important, but these are, I feel like, are really important tonight to read into the records. First one is the proclamation observing the United States of America's 250th anniversary, which is going to be read by Councilmember Brosnan. You have the floor.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to read this important proclamation. Whereas the year 2026 marks the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, commemorating the adoption of the Declaration of Independence on July 4, 1776, and whereas this anniversary is an opportunity to reflect upon our nation's democratic ideals of liberty, representative government, and equality, while also thoughtfully acknowledging the struggles, challenges, and diverse experiences that have shaped the nation's story. And whereas the 250th anniversary is also an occasion to recognize the ongoing work necessary to strengthen our democracy for future generations and in the pursuit of a more perfect union. And whereas the City of St. Louis Park celebrates this national milestone alongside our own local history, inviting residents to take part in community-wide summer events, including Parktacular, concerts, cultural gatherings, and the annual fireworks celebration on July 3rd, I might add, and to share stories with the St. Louis Park Historical Society. And whereas these celebrations highlight both our pride in community and our collective responsibility to ensure that the next chapters of our city and country reflect the democratic ideals of liberty, representative government, and equality for all people. Now, therefore, let it be known that the Mayor and City Council of the City of St. Louis Park do hereby recognize the United States of America's 250th anniversary and encourage all residents to engage in learning, reflection, and community events this summer.
Thank you, Council Member. Anybody want to say anything about this?
I'll hold my comments till closer to July 4.
I hear that. All right. Moving on to the proclamation observing Immigrant Heritage Month. Councilmember Baldwin, you have the floor.
Yeah, and it is an honor to read this proclamation into the record, especially considering everything that has gone on in this country and particularly our state and our community this year. This is the proclamation observing Immigrant Heritage Month. Whereas Minnesota has a long history of being a landing place for migrants from across the world, in the 1890s, 40% of Minnesotans were born outside of the United States, and by 1896, official voting instructions were offered in 9 different languages, including the Czech, English, Finnish, French, German, Italian, Norwegian, Polish, and Swedish communities. And whereas immigrants are our family members, neighbors, colleagues, business owners, doctors, teachers, community leaders, and more, contributing to what makes our state and city a great place to live and work. And whereas our community came together to support and protect immigrants during heightened federal immigration enforcement, where immigrants faced targeted harassment and many feared leaving their homes, neighbors stepped up and coordinated grocery pickup, transportation for children, and overall support for people and businesses. And whereas Immigrant Heritage Month is ever more relevant as migrants are criminalized and dehumanized by federal level policies that have caused fear and persecution within our schools, workplaces, and community towards citizens and non-citizens because of the way they look, the way they speak, and their national origin or ancestry. And whereas the City of St. Louis Park encourages our community to learn about immigration and do their part to build a community where immigrants have respect, dignity, and safety, now, therefore, let it be known that the mayor of the City of St. Louis Park, the mayor and the City Council of the City of St. Louis Park observe June 1st as Immigrant Heritage Month in our community. And I just want to follow that with, we're reading this the day after the people of the Twin Cities were given the John F. Kennedy Profiles in Courage Award last night. I don't know if a lot of people realize that, but that was one of the awards given out. And the people that give out that award talked about how hard it was because there were too many leaders in the Twin Cities area that they couldn't recognize all of them. And so it's just powerful thing to read this into the record on the other side of the Metro surge, and to also think about the fact that we read this into the record last year, and then I think we very much lived it out.
I would agree. I think I heard somebody say that, you know what, I'm going to hold my comment for that one. But it is especially meaningful to hear that. And as a proud immigrant, I think it is hard to hear or immigrants be questioned about what their contributions to Minnesota is, to their cities, and we'll continue to show up and we'll continue to prove how much our contributions matter, whether it's in the economy, politics, in the schools, whatever it may be. So thank you for reading that, and happy to sign that as well. Next one is Proclamation observing LGBTQ plus Pride Month, which is going to be read by our very own Councilmember Bayshore.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas LGBTQ plus communities exist as an integral part of the diversity that makes St. Louis Park a great place to experience life, and whereas discrimination has no home in St. Louis Park and our city proudly stands for human rights regardless of gender identity or sexuality, and whereas this month celebrates the diverse stories and resilience of Americans with varying sexual orientations and gender identities, such as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual, two-spirit, pansexual, and many intersecting identities. And whereas LGBTQ plus community members from all walks of life have helped create a more just and inclusive community for all and have strengthened our community and supported each other during hardship, including impacts from Operation Metro Surge. And whereas Pride Month is an opportunity to learn about how the LGBTQ plus community continues to experience higher rates of poverty, violence, harassment, and discrimination, and whereas Pride is celebrated by those who are out, those not yet out, and the people who love and support them, because everyone's pride belongs in St. Louis Park. And whereas the City of St. Louis Park reaffirms our commitment to challenge sexism, phobias, and prejudice amid efforts to undermine LGBTQ plus rights, and whereas St. Louis Park strives to be a community where our LGBTQ plus community members feel safe and experience a strong sense of belonging, now therefore let it be known that the Mayor and City Council of the City of St. Louis Park, Minnesota, hereby honor June 2026 as Pride Month in our community.
I know there's going to be tons of celebration up and down the Twin Cities area. The most common, I would say, and closest to us would be the Golden Valley Pride Month Parade, which is, I believe, is June 13th.
There will be one even closer that I'll talk about in our announcements.
Oh, yeah. I love that. I love that. Okay.
And if I also just say a quick thing, you know, I've only been on the council here for 5 months, but we do read a lot of proclamations. Yes. And sometimes I think it can be easy for me at least to think, you know, what's the impact of this? What's the benefit? This one, of course, hits really close to home for me. You know, as a member of the LGBTQ plus community, I can't express how grateful I am to live in a city that honors and celebrates things like Pride Month, having grown up in a community that didn't celebrate it or recognize it at all. That was absolutely a factor 5 years ago that led to me choosing St. Louis Park as my home, leading my husband and I to buy a house and put down roots here, and ultimately step up and serve the community on this council. So I just want to thank the city for recognizing the community in this way.
Yeah, thank you, Council Member. I will say I think that was one value that keeps coming back every 10 years when we do the strategic priority is a welcoming city, right? It's a city that is open to all, and most importantly, that is inclusive to all, which is really beautiful to know that that's still continues to be part of our priorities here as a city. Thank you again. I told you it was going to be really important proclamations, and so it's always hard to move from a really emotional proclamation to business to the rest of the business, but nevertheless we do. So move on to the minutes. We have 2 minutes. We have the City Council meeting minutes of May 18th, 2026, and special study session meetings of May 18th, 2026.
I'd move approval of both sets of minutes as presented.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any discussions on that? Anything on that? No? All right, seeing none, I'm going to move on to the votes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the minutes are approved as presented. I feel like this is a theme now that we haven't made any adjustments or amendments on the minutes, which is speaks volumes to a person who records this for us. So shout out to them. Moving on to the consent items, we have a couple of consent items. I didn't hear from anybody wanting to pull anything off, but so I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd
go ahead,
certainly
Councilmember
like to comment on a couple of items. First, the approval of the item number H, the approval of change orders number 1 and 2 for the Cedar Lake Road and Louisiana Avenue Improvements Project Phase 2, located in Ward 4. I appreciate the fact that our city is doing everything necessary to make this a successful project, and even though it ran over budget and we're required to approve these additional change orders on the project, the city went ahead and did the necessary work to address groundwater issues, stormwater, and other factors that came into play when they dug up the ground out there in Cedar Lake Road. So I'm appreciative of the fact that we're likely to approve those changes. The other thing I wanted to comment on was resolution listed in number F, the approving the 2026-2028 LELS local number 623 Deputy Police Chief Labor Agreement. We've got one Deputy Police Chief, so he's no union. And I appreciate the fact that we've got labor peace right away in that Human Resources Department, again, was able to successfully negotiate a contract with union representative and work out a commensurate pay deal with the deputy chief for the next 3 years. So I'm glad to see we're approving that too. And thanks to the HR department for their good work as always.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any others on that? Oh, go ahead, Councilmember.
I just wanted to call out consent item number B, or letter B, around our Access to Funds Scholarship Program. I love how many people in our community contribute toward this, and what this is a program that allows lower income families or families with lots of children that they want to get registered to actually have a discounted rate. And we had 114 members of our community make contributions to that fund this year. So I'm really excited to see that on here.
Yeah, it's how the kids get access to places like the rec center. Fun fact, it's actually where I learned to swim, which is really important. And so it's really amazing to have programs like that available in our city. All right, any others? Okay. Moving on to the votes. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the consent agenda is approved. There are no public hearings. There is a regular business, which is 7A, approval of the preliminary layout for Hennepin County Minnetonka Boulevard Reconstruction Project Phase 2. Okay. All right, Mark, you have the floor.
Perfect. Can you hear me? Perfect. So thank you, Mayor and Council, for having us here to present on this. My name is Mark Elgard. I'm the engineering project manager here for the city. With me today is Jason Stabell, the project engineer for Hennepin County, as well as Jack Sullivan, the assistant city engineer. I should probably pull this up. There we go. So we are going to be presenting today on the recommended approval for preliminary concept for the Hennepin County Minnetonka Boulevard reconstruction. This is a follow-up to the public hearing we had on May 4th, where we had a number of community members and council questions and feedback. We will be addressing those here today as part of this presentation. We are also here today for the action to a motion to adopt resolution granting city support for the preliminary layout for the Hennepin County Minnetonka Boulevard reconstruction project and authorizing staff to continue to work with Xcel Energy on relocating the overhead utilities underground. We will have two policy considerations to keep in mind as we're presenting here. Does the City Council support Concept B as the preliminary layout for the Minnetonka Boulevard Reconstruction Project Phase 2? And second, does the City Council want to continue to pursue the relocation of the overhead utilities in conjunction with this project? So before we get into addressing some of the feedback and questions we received from the public hearing, I'm going to hand this off to Jason Stabell with Hennepin County to go over a quick overview of the project so far.
Thank you, Council and Mayor. Jason Stabell with Hennepin County again. Some overview. This is the reconstruction of Minnetonka Boulevard, County Road 5, from Highway 100 to Aquila Avenue. So this is a continuation of the work you see out here that was done in 24-25. So this is coming from 100 to the west. The last time this segment of road was reconstructed was around 1956, so it is time for a full reconstruction. The project scope is, as I stated, Highway 100 through Aquila Avenue. We're redoing the roadway surface, ADA improvements, pedestrian crossing enhancements, signal replacements. We're proposing to construct off-street mixed-use trails, improve roadway drainage and stormwater treatment, and then with the city's support, water main replacement and utility upgrades. Visually, this is what the Concept B looks like with a two-sided shared-use trails. So the road is one lane in each direction, which is very similar to what it is out there today, and then shared-use paths on each side. So shared-use paths allow for bikes, peds, and all different non-motorized uses. So we went out to last fall with 3 concepts, Concept A, B, and C. As we've stated earlier, all 3 concepts improve the corridor, but we feel that Concept B was the one to move forward because it provides us the best all ages and abilities network for both pedestrians and bicyclists. Eliminates the need for cyclists to cross Minnetonka Boulevard depending on travel direction. Maintains a large green space that supports new tree plantings. Does not require the city to hire additional full-time staff to maintain the current levels of service and minimize operational impacts. Offers lower implementation and long-term maintenance costs, and strikes an effective balance between mobility and maintenance needs. So some of the questions we received back in early May, we'll go through them here and some responses, but the first one was, can Hennepin County reduce the speed limit on Minnetonka Boulevard? So the speed limit on county roads is actually something MnDOT's commissioner needs to approve the speed on a county road. That's county roads throughout the state. And to do that, there needs to be a speed study that is done after construction is completed. So the minimum we can set a speed limit on a county road is 30 miles per hour. And we expect with the reconstruction design, narrowing the roadway, having it, those visual cues, is expected to naturally slow down the traffic. For phase 1 out the building here, we did the study after the construction was completed, and it supported a reduction to 30 miles per hour. The next question is it feasible to include on-street bike lanes or wider travel lanes for cyclists who prefer to ride on the road rather than using separated facility? So adding a on-street bike lane would require widening the road. So we're narrowing the road to have that traffic calming effect. To add additional space that's on road, it would be wider. That additional space has to come from somewhere. So it would be probably taking it from the boulevard space, the green space, and that, depending on how wide you go, would limit the tree planting opportunities. Wider lanes can also increase vehicle speeds, as I've mentioned, reducing safety for all users. It is noted for all options, bicyclists are allowed to use Minnetonka Boulevard travel lanes under any design. Will the new roadway design impact emergency vehicle response times? So we don't anticipate negative impacts to emergency response times. The city staff have worked with fire and police to review the design, and they have expressed no concerns. Roadway width allows for safe emergency vehicle passing. Proposed design matches the overall width of Cedar Lake Road west of Louisiana. Minnetonka will keep the same number of through lanes and left turn lanes as existing. So the next question, will the new roadway design impact traffic on adjacent parallel streets? As mentioned, the proposed roadway remains a 2-lane corridor with no on-street parking, same as today. Only minor turn lane adjustments at a few intersections. We maintain key traffic signals in the corridor. For a reference, existing traffic volumes are approximately 12,000 vehicles per day. The corridor capacity expected to handle current and future peak hour traffic. With minimal capacity changes, no impacts to adjacent parallel city streets are expected. There's a concern about construction impacts to business adjacent to road diet projects. First off, Minnetonka Boulevard is not a road diet project. There's no reduction of travel lanes. The number of lanes that are out there now are the same number of lanes that are going to be out there. What we've noticed, the biggest impact is short-term to adjacent businesses. There's expected disruptions of visibility, modified access, detours, noise, dust, utility work, and reduced pass-by traffic. Greatest impact occurs when the construction is directly in front of that business. Staff conducted early outreach to businesses and shared resources for preparing for this project. County and cities will continue to work to minimize impacts through coordination, signage, updates, and access planning. The main challenge is temporary construction disruption, not the final roadway design. Then there's this one's
me. Yep.
Yes. Went by so quick.
Right. So, as some of these pertain a little bit more to the city than the county, I will come in and answer some of the following questions as well. We had concerns about electrical e-bikes or scooters using the shared use trail, and we had a request for some additional info on these shared use trails. And so I want to start off by saying community concerns about e-bike, scooters, and other micromobility devices are valid. We're hearing them not only in our community, but adjacent communities. Other agencies are hearing about them on trails in the state system. As they start to see more use and more people utilizing them, this is something that we are all taking a look at and monitoring. That being said, e-bikes are allowed wherever traditional bikes are allowed in neighboring communities and other agencies, and they are permitted within trail systems per state statute. So current traffic laws do require yielding to pedestrians from vehicles, whether that be motorized, bicycles, any other vehicle. So we're going to continue monitoring e-bike scooters as their usage continues to grow. And we're going to be, looking at this, trying to make sure that we've got the best facilities out there, regardless of whether that be a trail, a bike facility, a cycle track, anything like that. I'll also add that these potential conflicts and other points of contention exist not only on trail systems, but on cycle tracks running adjacent to pedestrian infrastructure, as, someone trying to avoid a one-way facility might be biking down a sidewalk or biking the wrong way down a bicycle facility. So they do exist on all concepts, and we are going to continue to monitor and look at these as we continue through this design and in others. And then a big one we heard was, what would be the impact to the project if the cycle track and sidewalk in concept A, which were originally split to go around the trees, were combined and separated from the road in a grass boulevard? So I've got a photo of what one looks like. I was out getting a card for my cousin's grad party, and I looked out the window and saw, oh, that's what they asked about. So had the wife take a quick little photo so I could try and present and show what it might look like. So combining the cycle track and sidewalk in concept A to kind of a concept A combined facility, or concept A prime, would increase the width of the facility in comparison to concept B. This is largely due to the fact that new MnDOT guidance requires tactile delineation strips between a dedicated bike and pedestrian zone, and that is shown in the brown cast iron tactile delineation strips right there. So very similar to the truncated domes you see on ped ramp crossings. This increased width for the facility will result in higher construction costs, just more material as proposed to the trail, and will likely lead to more tree removals than concept B originally showed. As some trees we were able to save sneaking around with a smaller trail, that extra width would then result in that tree being removed. And to kind of touch on the previous question, we are getting community feedback from places like Cedar Lake Road that there are ongoing compliance issues, people walking in the cycle track, people cycling in the sidewalk to avoid a one-way facility, biking the wrong way in a one-way facility. So that's just another thing that while we are adding additional width, it doesn't necessarily remove the potential conflicts. And so there, like I said, mentioned, there was an additional cost with this. So right now our estimated cost increase is $2.8 million to the total project if we were to combine A into A prime or A combined. This raises the city cost share to about $13.6 million, or about $2.2 million over the current city CIP. The wider facility will also impact snow maintenance, as right now the widest city plow that we have for trails is just under 10 feet. And with this facility now becoming wider than the 10-foot trail, it would then require our Parks Department to make 2 passes to clear width to width on this facility. The tactile delineation strips, which I'm just going to show here again, they are elevated. So these have the potential to lift plows up off of the surface and potentially leave a thin layer of snow along the entire width of the facility. So that is something that we would have to work with our Public Works Department to see if we can mitigate that. And if we are unable to, it could result in us needing to go back to our utility department's smaller, slower vehicles and end up with a maintenance cost similar to that of Concept A, just to avoid that raised tactile delineation strip. Yeah, so if we are able to handle the tactile delineation strip, it would still have a average maintenance cost of roughly double of Concept B, as we'd have to make the 2 passes. Could the multi-use trail in Concept B be striped and or signed to indicate multi-directional use on the trail? And this is not typically striped or signed on city or county projects for directional use. It's not a standard practice for this type of design. If Concept B is approved tonight, staff would be recommending we let the trail operate for about a year, evaluate potential conflicts, gather feedback on it before looking at additional marking or signage. If the City Council does not approve the preliminary layout tonight, what are the next steps? So if Council does not approve Concept B tonight, potential further analysis and discussion would be required. If this is a significant change, we might have to do additional public outreach, including open houses. This would potentially delay start of construction to the 2029 season. If it's a smaller change, we would be able to come at a later date with an updated recommended design. All right, shifting gears a little bit, we had a number of comments about additional information for the cost of undergrounding the overhead utilities. So hopefully that shows up okay. There are 2 segments of this corridor that have existing overhead utilities. Segment 1 is between Highway 100 and Blackstone Avenue. This is estimated to cost about $200,000 to underground. Segment 2 between Oregon and Aquila Avenue is estimated to cost about $5.3 million to underground. This is largely due to the nature of the facilities. Segment 1 is a local, feeding mostly the local area, the residences and the businesses in the area. Segment 2 is more of a regional facility. It's connected to the substation, so it's carrying a lot more load and it's got a lot more requirements to be undergrounded. Additional safety, concrete vaults, concrete encasement to protect the facility. So in total, the cost to underground both segments is estimated about $5.5 million. And you'll note that between Blackstone Avenue and Oregon Avenue, there is no current existing overhead utilities running the length of the corridor. So that is just the cost to underground the facilities. There are additional costs associated with this, one of which is the reconnection of private services for XL. XL does not cover these costs for the property owners. Segment 1 has an estimated 5 impacted properties. Segment 2 has an estimated 8 impacted properties. These per phase 1, the city covered these costs for the property owners at an average cost of about $9,000 per service. And I will add that CRFS, which I will touch on the next slide, cannot be used to cover the cost of private service reconnections. So this is an additional funding source to cover these costs. And then here in the table, the total cost for segment 1 segment 2, and then combined segment 1 and 2 can be shown, including service reconnection costs. So CRFS, as I alluded to on the previous slide, this is what's known as a city-requested special facilities surcharge. It is a monthly increase to electrical bills for all St. Louis Park properties. So that's businesses, residences, industrial parks. Everybody who has an electric bill would see some level of a surcharge increase if CRFS was used to fund these undergrounding costs. Again, they cannot be used to cover the private service reconnections, just the undergrounding itself. So there are 3 potential CRFS options here. If we only look at doing segment 1, that would be a monthly bill increase for a residential property of 29 cents across 2 years. So the total charged for a residential property would be just under $7, and a monthly increase for a low-income property would be 29 cents, which is the same as the residential, so a total of $7 across those 2 years. If we look at doing both segment 1 and segment 2, or the entire corridor, we have 2 options, a 4-year CRFS or a 5-year CRFS. And to prevent myself from reading the whole table, basically the monthly increase on the 4-year is going to be higher, but the amount total paid across the entire term would be higher on the 5-year CRFS. So, you know, the 2 options, both positives and negatives on, you can either get the lower monthly bill with the 5-year CRFS or the lower overall payment across the term with the 4-year CRFS. And then just for reference for everybody, phase 1 of Minnetonka Boulevard was paid for using the CRFS. It was estimated at $8.40 per year for a residential property and $3 per year for a low-income property over the span of 3 years. So that'd be approximately $25 and approximately $9. That has not yet seen implementation. We are still getting final numbers from Excel, so these numbers could vary slightly, but this was their initial estimate. Then, were there any cost savings for the city or property owners if the overhead utilities are relocated underground? Short answer, no. There are no direct cost savings to either city or property owners from undergrounding the utilities. Undergrounding does reduce the likelihood of weather-related power outages. You know, a tree branch hitting an overhead line, if it's underground, it's a lot harder to hit it. There are benefits to undergrounding, which includes aesthetics, more room for pedestrian and bike infrastructure, improved vehicle safety as you reduce the likelihood of a vehicle to power pole collision, and it also creates more space and flexibility for tree planting. This is, if we do not underground these poles, they will be relocated to the boulevard. And, you know, we have to plant shorter trees so they don't grow up into the power lines, and we get those lovely goalpost trees getting trimmed around the power lines. So next steps for the overhead utility undergrounding, we are not asking for a decision at this time. Staff will return to council later in the year for a council decision. This is purely an update on some numbers and to address questions we heard at the public hearing. We also got requests for additional funding information. So current estimated cost for Concept B is $39.22 million, of which Hennepin County is paying $26.22 million. Of that, $7 million is federal funding, and the rest of the $19.2 million is county state aid and metro sales tax funds. That leaves the city cost share at about $13 million, and the funding sources are broken out here in the table. Of note, sanitary utility and water utility are currently below city CIP, where general obligation bonds are currently above city CIP. So next steps for the project. Right now, we're in concept design and public engagement. Pending an approval tonight, we will switch into final design, which will take place in 2026, 2027. Also in 2027 will be the private utility relocations. That'd be your gas company, power company, everybody else coming in and moving their utilities, whether that be undergrounding or just moving them out of the way of the project. We'll also have the Hennepin County Cooperative Agreement in 2027, which we will come to council for. And then 2028, 2029 is the construction season. So once again, staff's recommended action is the motion to adopt resolution granting city support for the preliminary layout for the Hennepin County Minnetonka Boulevard reconstruction project and authorizing staff to continue to work with Xcel Energy on relocating the overhead utilities underground. With that, I will hand it back over to the mayor and council.
Okay, thank you so much, Mark. Before I open it up to council, I just want to let folks know, or I wanted to see if anybody wanted to make any comments about this. While this isn't a public hearing, you can make public comments about this. I didn't get any blue cards, but that does not mean that you can't speak to it. If you do want to, you can just raise your hand and know that, okay, I have one person. 2, okay. All right, that's enough for me to start with my instructions. So I'm gonna just give a list of instructions for those who are interested in talking about this particular topic. Give me 1 second while I pull up. Okay, so before council considers this resolution, I wanna share a couple of thoughts about the comment period. The public comment periods are an opportunity to hear directly from residents, but by design are not an answer and question forum. Our goal here tonight is to make sure that we hold space to hear from you. That being said, if you do have questions, I know that I know that staff will be out there at the end of the session to answer any questions you may have, and if they cannot answer at the time, they will provide you an answer via email or at a later time. With that, some basic rules to help everyone's voice be heard and respected during this meeting. First, please wait to be recognized to speak. We are here to listen, be respectful to one another's point of views, and that means that speaking in an orderly fashion. No shouting from the audience. This also means directing your comments to the council, not each other in the room. Second, there are blue cards in the back, which I know that Deb is already passing around. While filling these out is not a requirement, it just helps me move this along, and I know who I'm calling next. All right, your comments should be around this particular topic. No other topic besides this, and it should remain that way. You will have 3 minutes to speak. If you look behind me, you'll see that little white box, which will turn green any second now. If it's green, you have 3 minutes. You still have your full 3 minutes. When it turns yellow, you will have a minute to wrap up your thoughts, and then if it's red, you will have the last 30 seconds to wrap up your thoughts. Please, remain on time. Make sure that you're being respectful for others who want to speak, and for the things that we do have to get to. So that being said, I will now invite the first person to come and speak. When I call you, come on up at this. What is this called? A desk? What a podium. Thank you. At this podium right here, and then say your first and last name and your address for the record. All right. I have Lynn first. Is that correct? Did I say that correctly? Lynn?
Yeah. My name is Lynn Carper. I live at 4010 Highwood Road in the Lake Forest area. Previously, I was on the Planning Commission for 15 years. So this may have been an issue that came across our desk at some time. You are talking about overhead wiring. Is this, or has it been considered, and I'm probably going to use the wrong term, part of the EROT? In other words, it's the logical fence that surrounds the Jewish community. If you were to take those wires down, because it has to be a continuous, I'll call it a barrier, or at least surrounding a community, will that cause any problems with the EROT?
So that is a question, and this isn't a question and answer type of forum, but we hear your question around that, and I know staff wrote that down, and we'll get an answer.
Okay, I think you need to consider that, because that could be a bad surprise.
Thank you. I know, while I won't speak to the answer of that, I do know that in a lot of these I should say, in a lot of these constructions that we are doing, we are always in conversation with the neighbors in the surrounding area. That is always a guaranteed. Okay.
Mayor, may I just say real quickly, just to make sure we're all talking about the same thing, the word that he's looking for is a roof.
Yes. All right. Thank you. All right, Justin.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Justin Joplin. I live at 3053 Nevada Avenue South. I have both an electric and an acoustic bicycle, as I like to call it. My watch tells me that when I'm on my acoustic bike, I'm doing a really good job of getting 10 miles an hour, but when I'm on my e-bike, I'm closer to about 15 to 16. I can respect that the speed differential may cause some concern for certain members, for certain pedestrians, but it is on me as the least vulnerable user of the shared space to be respectful of those around me, whether they're walking, whether they've got children, whether they're pushing a stroller, whether they've got pets on a leash. And I think that it is imperative that we continue to move forward with B, making sure that I'm as far away from the traffic as possible, which may or may not be respecting the speed limit, while also paying attention, as our engineer said, to making sure that we are respectfully and intentionally managing individuals that may not be adhering to bicycle regulations with respect to class 1, 2, 3 cycles or, mopeds or anything of that nature. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Justin. Is that all? Anybody else need to speak on this or want to speak on this? Going once, twice, sold to 2. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I will close this public comment period. And then I'm going to, before I open up the council to ask any questions, I am curious about the question that was asked by, I believe it was Len, around the A-roof, and did we take that into consideration? I know that we always talk to our community members and our partners around the area, but.
Yeah. So with phase 2 of the Minnetonka Boulevard reconstruction project, we will not be impacting the A-roof. That was within the phase 1 reconstruction project, and we worked with faith leaders there to make sure that we never broke that line, and we found it a suitable home once the poles were removed. So phase 2, we should not be impacting that.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, Mark. All right, council, any questions?
I have some questions.
Okay.
So what's the average shoulder width going to be along the 2 lanes there? I know there's been expression of concern from the transit bike community that they will continue to probably ride on the road and they're looking for adequate shoulder width.
Council member, the road will not have a shoulder. It'll be no shoulder. It'll just be the travel lanes. And so they're at the recommended width of a travel lane.
Which is?
It's going to be 11 feet plus, then there's reaction to the gutter, so 13 total feet.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I've got a couple questions about the reconnecting costs and the process after undergrounding power lines, but I take it those would be appropriate in the future instead of now?
You can certainly ask them now, but I might have to defer to the next meeting.
So, I'm trying to understand how to do it because when I came down Minnetonka Boulevard on the way to this meeting, I saw the lines there, and some have junction boxes, and then the lines run north and south from there off into the communities. And if you put the lines underground, where do they pop up again to go up and out north and south in the community?
So in phase 1, when it was undergrounded, typically they remained undergrounded until the next pole down the side street, and then they would come up that pole. I'm not an expert in XL, undergrounding and infrastructure, but there were instances where they had to install a new pole on the side street in order to come up out of the ground. It depends on the nature of the facility, what is already on the existing pole. But yes, typically they run underground to another pole down the side street before coming up.
So it's not anticipated that we're going to underground the whole system necessarily. We're just going to do this section along Minnetonka Boulevard.
Yes, we would just be looking at within the corridor of Minnetonka Boulevard.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, one question around the concern about traffic going into more residential streets. I can't remember what the exact phrasing was. With this being a pretty, I don't know if is pretty much identical to phase one. Have we, as the city, maybe even Councilmember Bayshore, have we received complaints from that neighborhood around increased traffic because of how phase one went?
Not that I am aware of, but I can certainly look more into that.
Okay, great. That just, to me says I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Any other questions? Yep, go ahead, Councilmember.
I just wanted to clarify some things. I think, Mark, you described how bicycles are free to use all travel lanes. Can you tell me what that means?
Yeah, they are permitted to use travel lanes where they do not reasonably obstruct the flow of traffic. So they could not go down Highway 100, for instance.
Okay.
But yes, they are permitted to use travel lanes in the state of Minnesota where they're not obstructing free flow of traffic.
Okay, so that is why occasionally we'll see a very fast bicycler in a lane and behaving like a car, kind of. Okay, just wanted to better understand that. Have we ever thought of, or do we have the ability to consider a speed limit for e-bikes?
I'll take that one. Mayor, council members, Jack Sullivan, the Assistant City Engineer. At the moment, I know there's some state legislation that is being discussed about kind of overall e-bike usage and recognizing if there should be some additional requirements on those, whether that's the definition of what are traditional e-bikes or the more motorbike, as well as some of the discussing ideas about speed limits and other things. So that communication and that kind of ideas is at a state level. I know that a lot of the agencies, such as Three Rivers Park District and our other larger communities, are paying close attention, such as we are, to understanding more about what that looks like in the future. But we want to be whatever I would love for the state or others to take a lead so that we're consistent instead of trying to develop something that's inconsistent with our neighboring communities or jurisdictions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, lastly, can I make a comment, Mayor, as well? Yeah, so I kind of to Justin's comment, I think that as someone who's ridden on the common use trails quite a bit, it's always impressive how respectful people are of the different uses for those. So I know we had good turnout to our community input sessions, and there was some concern about shared use trails and whatnot, but I think that I've seen them work really well, and I think that I'm supportive of that solution. So.
All right, thank you. I see is that a motion, Councilmember? Was that?
I will make a motion that we adopt the resolution granting city support for the preliminary layout of this proposal.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Yep, go ahead, Councilmember.
Yeah. So, first of all, I want to say thank you all so much for your work on this. I know there's so many factors, and you all do really great work. I also really appreciate the way you've responded to some of the questions that came up from our last meeting on this. But honestly, I'm disappointed in the bikes infrastructure situation. I'm going to support this because overall I like it. Probably 95% of it I think is fantastic. I think this looks great out here. But when I spoke to this before, when I first saw it when it was finished, I was underwhelmed with the bike and ped infrastructure that we have. So I just wanted to note that. And it also seems very odd to me that there's a requirement when we have parallel paths, a walking path and a biking path, that we need some kind of, infrastructure to indicate that and separate it, but we don't do anything for a shared path. That seems really odd to me. I don't know why we would wait a year. To me, it just seems like a hospitable thing to do, to put up signage and lanes and things like that to indicate to people that this is a shared path. Bikes have the right to be here. Bikes need to watch out for pedestrians. That kind of thing just brings a kind of natural hospitality to the infrastructure and makes it more inviting. As I said before, when I first saw this out here, I went, oh, this isn't for bikes. I honestly thought that. I was like, I thought there was going to be bike infrastructure, and I don't see any. And I don't know that I'm alone in that. And so I think, why not just go ahead and put that kind of markings and communication into the system to make it a little more inviting, I think. So, like I said, I love this project overall. I don't want to bog it down, so I'm going to support it. But I do think we need to think bigger in this city and in our county around bike and ped infrastructure. I think we talk a lot about leading on this and dreaming big about this, and we even have it in our Vision 4.0 stuff that came out of it. It's in there, and then I feel like what we end up doing is building on convention and what is standard. And I just really want to push us to really dream bigger about ped and bike infrastructure, because honestly, it just feels like to me, this project feels like the same old car is king. And so I just wanted to name that. That being said, I also want to just hammer in, I just deeply appreciate your work and your expertise, and think you all do a fantastic job. This is just one thing I just want to push us on because I'm pretty passionate about it. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Councilmember. Go ahead, Councilmember.
Thank you. I'll certainly be supporting Concept B and the proposed staff resolution too. To Councilmember Bodwin's point, there's no perfect infrastructure project in an already built-up city. We're trying to retrofit in more infrastructure than we had before, in that we're creating the bike and pedestrian pathways in the same footprint. And it's really difficult to do, and I think we're doing a pretty good job of it here. I see where we've got separate paths over on Cedar Lake Road that go in the right directions. As staff commented, people run the wrong way on those all the time. They go on, they go on the pedestrian path. They're riding bicycles and e-bikes in the wrong direction. It's frustrating, and I agree with the signage. I like the idea of signage on there too. I wish the Cedar Lake Road, the North Cedar Trail had better signage too, because I'm in conflict on that all the time about pedestrians walking on both sides of the roadway while bicyclists are trying to both be on the right-hand side in the direction they're going. So it's confusing, and I wish we could do more too, but I'll certainly be supporting this project. I think it's going to be a boon to the community as far as repairing the road structure, because it's just like a grate right now as you go across it. So I can't wait to see you get started on it.
Yep, go ahead.
I just wanted to speak to a few things, a few concerns that folks raised to me, and I think we already talked about a lot of them here. I also would be curious to see, I'm willing to wait the year after construction to see what kind of issues, if any, arise before we consider any kind of painting or signage. I certainly didn't survey the whole of this phase 1 section, but I did ask a lot of residents in Ward 1 who frequent that area of Minnetonka, and heard a lot of positive feedback about the shared bike and pedestrian path. I think once the initial shock of who is this for is overcome, I think it was fairly well received, and folks have had little issue with the shared path. I think to some of the community input we heard even tonight, I think it's on the users of the path to ensure that we're using it correctly and safely. As someone who regularly walks a dog on the North Cedar Lake Trail, which is a shared use, I'm always constantly looking out for traffic that's coming, because I don't want myself or my dog to be hit. So I think if you're going to use the infrastructure, which I hope people do, it does require a certain level of vigilance, as any kind of shared space would. As far as the traffic dieting question, I know some folks are really worried about diverting traffic to other parts of the neighborhood. I think that's what you were trying to get at, Councilmember Bodwin. As the staff mentioned, we're not reducing any number of lanes on this stretch of road, so there should be, barring during construction, when the road is closed, there shouldn't be any impact to those. And as far as the business impacts, that is hopefully a temporary disruption to some of the businesses along the corridor. But I would kind of argue, look to our track record with the Cedar Loop project this year. I know there's been a lot of advertising and awareness about the accessibility of those businesses. Residents are constantly asking me, can we still access them? And I'm always referring them back to the city resources about how you can access them when that access routes have changed. So I hope to see the same kind of level of vigilance for these businesses along Minnetonka Boulevard, and trust that we would. So for all of those reasons, I'll be supporting Concept B tonight.
I would be supporting as well. I just would like people, if you don't understand how it goes, to figure it out, just like the roundabouts. If you don't know how to drive through them, ask somebody, because it's just horrible. We all here, and we, if we want to make St. Louis Park livable for everybody, we're going to have to make it work, So if you don't know how to use the bike paths, ask. And if you don't know how to drive through the roundabouts, don't drive through them, ask somebody.
You might as well have added mayor after that, because that was me when I first got my license. I did not know how to drive through. My dad had to take me through the roundabout. But thank you for that, council member. Council member, go ahead.
I will be definitely supporting Concept B. A couple of just cautionary notes that I will note, as Mr. Sullivan noted. Electronic bikes are getting to be more and more powerful with little regulation. They have these e-motos. I was driving my car on Cedar Lake Road. 3 middle schoolers coming up, probably 25 miles an hour, going the wrong way on the path there. So certainly, the need for people to be respectful of sharing the trail, and there's a point where we cannot let young kids with not fully deformed reflexes and judgment have as powerful of a machine as their parents will pop for. Second item where I see an education component is with the separated bicycle facility, the shared use. Cars are going to be making that right turn, and then about 6-8 feet after that right turn, they're going to cross the trail at the street. Or if they're approaching the street, they'll come to the trail about maybe 20 feet before the stop sign at the intersection. So that idea of the bikers, pedestrians need to be cognizant of their cross traffic, and cars needing to be cognizant of the trail traffic as well. And can we sneak in one more question or no?
Go ahead.
Okay. Question for the staff. Is the idea that would there be a stop sign in front of the trail facility, or would the stop sign, so for a regular stop sign coming into Minnetonka on the side street, would the stop sign be in front of the trail facility, or would it be at the intersection?
So if you were coming down the side street towards Minnetonka Boulevard, you would hit the stop sign, then you would hit the trail, then you would hit Minnetonka.
Okay, so the cars technically should stop in front of the trail.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Is that all?
That will be it.
Okay.
And that will go a long way toward providing some additional safety.
Yeah. Thank you. I think then I'm the only one. I am also in support of Concept B. The only thing I think I would say, just kind of like reiterating what Councilmember Bodwin was saying around the goals that we do have, and our dedication to bike lanes and sidewalks, and making our streets more accessible to things other than cars, right? I think to that, I will say, I don't think we were ever going to, and this is not to, it's not to answer to your thing, but to I don't think we will ever reach these goals with just one project. I think that's why they're goals, right? Is that with every project, there's things that need to be, we will put into these things into consideration, and that every biker, right, every type of biker will see themselves reflected in each of these streets, in each of these projects and whatnot. And I say that as somebody who's recently gone back to biking and definitely not comfortable, nowhere near comfortable to get anywhere near Minnetonka Boulevard. But that's just my biking skills, and I think that's what I know to be true about me. And I've stuck to trails, and that's that, right? And I think it's the way that with every project and with everything that we are talking about and the goals that we make for ourselves, how can we continue to add to those goals, and how can we continue to meet those goals? But you are right, it is a value of St. Louis Park, and it is something that keeps coming back, again, decade after decade, where people want to, have something of an option besides cars, right? But we are, as you were saying, we're a fully developed suburb, and so it's hard to, it is very hard to do that, and there's no one way to strike that and make it all happen. All right, that being said, yes, go ahead.
I also just wanted to reiterate a statistic that was brought forth last month, but I think we had 1,300, 1,400 points of input from the community during this process over, I think over a year. I'm pretty sure I sent my husband to an open house about this like last March or something. So we've had lots of opportunity for public input and observation. So I just want to remind folks in the community that we regularly do that for this scale of a project. So please, we invite you to come to these open houses, view the information on the website, provide your input. I think there was even some asynchronous input that you could provide to this. I know I heard from a few residents who might have missed the memo about that opportunity for input. So we always have that for these types of projects, and so encourage residents to participate in that capacity to the extent that they can.
Yeah, thank you. All right. With that, I think the votes are clear on that. I think, well, my number might be off. I think 7 voted for it. All of them. Let's go through. That is true. That is true. All right. Taking an official vote, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. The resolution, this passes, I should say, it's not a resolution. This motion has passed with 7-0. I knew my number was correct on that one. Thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation, Mark. Thank you. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. Okay. Well, I think we'll move on to the other parts of our, sorry, my English is going away, as you can see. Communications and announcements, that's where we're moving on to. Thank you, gentlemen. I have one communication. As you can imagine, tomorrow there's going to be a lot of fun things that are happening. Well, one big fun thing happening. There is the State of the Community. I'm doing a State of the Community alongside with City Manager Kim Keller. It is my first official State of the City, State of the Community. Previous years I've done like road shows, I've gone to community events, and I've told them kind of what's going on and what's happening. This is the first one where I'm asking people to come to me. So I really hope you guys do come to me and to the city manager. We're gonna have a conversation. It's gonna be great. It's been a really long year, as you can imagine. And we're going to talk about what the city has done, what we've been successful at, what we'll continue to do. And so it's going to be a grand time. It's going to start at 4:30 at the Westwood Nature Center. Programming will start at 5. So for those who like to, come in rolling in, make sure that you come exactly at 5 for the programming. And then we'll wrap up, I think, 6:30?
6 o'clock, Mayor.
6 o'clock. Okay. All right. And it's going to be a grand time, so come through. Yep, go ahead.
Are we doing communication? Yeah.
Yes, communication.
I just wanted to just really push out there the importance of going the extra mile, figuratively, to hit our businesses at Cedarloo this summer. It is really prohibitive to get in and out of there right now. The city's doing everything we can to make sure that things are communicated. I live 3 blocks from there, and it took me about 15 to 20 minutes to get there the other day. So it's really prohibitive. So it's up to us as residents to choose to push through and find our way there, because we got a lot of really great small businesses, and I've talked to a lot of them, and they're very concerned. So let's make sure when you're, hitting the liquor store, or the brewery, or the restaurant, or whatever it is, keep Cedarloo in mind and make it over there this summer and hit up those businesses.
Yep, go ahead, Councilmember.
I'm sorry. Would like to invite everyone to the St. Louis Park Basketball in the Park, which will be starting June 18th. It's very important to the council members that you show up, and the mayor and the city manager and show up and support. Everybody gather. It's just a beautiful time. It's Missions Inc. is sponsored at the St. Louis Park Police Department, Hennepin County Sheriff's Department. It's a wonderful time to get to know your neighbors and the children. They be so excited.
And that's June 18th?
June 18th through August 27th.
All right.
From 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Amesworth Park.
Is that every Thursday or something?
It's every Thursday except the week of the 4th of July and National Night Out Week. Those are the only 2 weeks.
Get ready, because I'm about to start dunking on those kids.
Yeah, so come through. It's really nice. It's really nice. It's a good time. And the kids just be so excited, especially when council members show up. And last year, only Sue Buzz showed up.
What a way to end the night. Thank you so much. We will be there.
Okay.
I will be there. I guarantee it. Okay. All right. Go ahead. Councilmember Bud and then Councilmember Bayshore.
And Councilmember Ferris, it does include food, right?
Yes, yes.
Food,
hot dogs and hamburgers, beef,
right.
Snacks, ice cream, water, Gatorade, music. You want to bust a move,
Okay, I just wanted to make an announcement about a proclamation that we had last November around Ask Day. We did it last November in timing with the Annunciation crisis, and we proclaimed June 21st to be Ask Day as the start of summer. And so we're encouraging parents whose children are visiting other people's homes to not be afraid to ask if their firearms are all protected and safe. And so as school lets out, we want to encourage, I just wanted to mention a reminder of that proclamation. So.
Thank you, Councilmember.
And as the mayor alluded to, yes, the closest official Pride celebration to us is in Golden Valley, but St. Louis Park will be a host, not the city, but the first St. Louis Park Pride pop-up is occurring this Saturday, June 6th, from 11 a.m. at the Rock and Wolf Park. Can bring a picnic, lunch, games, activities, arts, crafts, things to share, or just bring yourself and come have a picnic, hang out, meet neighbors, members of the LGBTQ plus community and allies. And then I believe there's going to be some march happening starting at 2 p.m. So feel free to join that.
Called a pop-up, huh?
Just a Pride pop-up, a small, sort of unofficial gathering. And if it becomes big, great. Maybe we might see that later. I will sadly be out of town this weekend, so I won't be there. But I encourage everyone to go if you're able to.
Yep, go ahead, Councilmember. Go ahead, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a few other events that are happening. Most of them happen to involve water, so it's a theme. The pool opens on Wednesday at 11 a.m. And then we have our first day of summer for the kids at the aquatic park. Bring them there on Friday after school from 4 to 7. And it'll be dollar hot dogs, fountain sodas, and ice cream sandwiches. It's an all ages event. And then we also have our city cleanup day on Saturday as well. These are for St. Louis Park residents. Twice a year, we offer opportunities for people to come down to the Municipal Service Center, bring their big bulky items, bring their technology that they're trying to offload, those sorts of things. There's lots of information on the website about it, but I know I've been doing spring cleaning and others may have as well. Bring your items on down.
And also this Saturday, 10 o'clock, ribbon cutting at 11. We have a new BIPOC-owned business that is relocating to St. Louis Park, Razor King. So any of the council members want to look sharp, we have a new option in town. They will be grand opening on Saturday on Excelsior Avenue, right by the Starbucks on Grand.
All right, thank you. All right, I think that's the last of our communications and announcements. I will now close this council meeting. Thank you all for being here.